This is No Place Like Home in Conversation With, a podcast exploring the creative side of football by NPLH Studio. I'm Joseph Fordham, and each episode I speak with the people shaping how we see the game. Okay, we are back and we're doing this in one take. Let's go. Zoe Allen is a publicist, writer and presenter living in New York City. She shares how a Substack experiment and a single DM led to work with Versus, a front row seat at the World Cup, and a deeper belief in why the game matters. We unpack her path into sports media, a mix of luck, hustle, and saying yes before you feel ready, the beauty in building relationships in the football space, and turning those connections into opportunities. Zoe also opens up about the emotional side of the game, the collective energy of stadiums, the memories football creates, and the women's game as a space where she found both inspiration and belonging. Enjoy it.
Wait, I can hear you.
Got you. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
We're live from Santa Fe. Yes.
Yes, exactly. I know I'm taking this outside. I have to take in the nice weather while I'm here.
Yeah, you're showing off. I get it. It's
Yeah.
fine.
Hey, I've been in New York all summer. It's been a little rough weather-wise.
Really?
Yeah, well, just hot, really hot.
Not one
and
of those
humid.
kind of long, hot American summers over there, no?
Yeah, it was it's been a lot of 40 degrees. Yeah. Oh, fuck. This might be, actually, I may need to go back inside because I don't want the internet to freak
no
out
worries.
while we're doing this again. Okay. Yeah, I think this is okay. Can you hear me and everything?
Yeah, I've got you loud and clear. Yeah. Did
Okay.
I just spot an extremely customized Chelsea jersey there?
Yes, you did. I'm happy to talk about it. It's Hattie Crowther.
I'd love to talk about that. Yeah, I'm sure we'll get to that. Well, yeah, the first question that comes to mind is, how does a woman from Santa Fe come to love Chelsea in the first place? I'm sure
Yeah.
we'll get to that. But that is
I'm
that
sure.
is
Yeah, I'm happy to
outstanding.
get into it. So,
Yeah,
but let me know how this goes.
That jersey, I guess, is like your interests incarnate, right?
Kind of, yeah. The football fashion kind of convergence, which is definitely kind of how I kind of found my niche in football. But I think at this point, it's kind of now just more of the football than fashion, to be honest.
Really, you've been swayed.
Yeah.
You're just keeping your hand in with that jersey. You're just.
I mean, no,
honoring your
I
roots.
love any pieces like this, but just in terms of the work that I've been doing, it's definitely just more straight football focused now, which is great. I have no qualms. But yeah,
Your summer looked pretty busy, which I'm excited to get to.
it was really fun.
I'm really excited to get to. I know you were doing work with the Versus team, which is
Yes.
very cool in itself. Would you mind, first of all, just telling me a little bit about Santa Fe? I think you are, as far as I know, the first person that I've ever met from Santa Fe.
Okay, so
And that was quite exciting to me.
Yeah. Okay, well, so I was born and raised in Dallas, Texas. But
Also, the first
cousin-
person from Dallas, Texas on the show.
okay,
So we're
good.
ticking all the
Okay.
boxes.
So I'm born and raised in Dallas, Texas. I grew up coming here. My cousin lives out here, and then my dad retired and my parents moved to Santa Fe. So I go home to Santa Fe now, which is great, especially right now during the summer. It's beautiful here. It's not so beautiful in Dallas. It's very, very hot in Dallas, as you can imagine. But we actually had family friends who were here last night. I got in yesterday, and they're all from Dallas, and they were telling me about, one of them, Carrie, was telling me about how she got to go to the Croatia-England game in Dallas and had the time of, she's like, I'm not a soccer fan at all, but I had the time of my life. So I think England football really impressed everyone in Dallas when they came through.
Yeah, another one converted. That game
Yeah.
was actually that was far more exciting than I think a lot of us expected it to be. And then we came crashing back down against Ghana. I was like, oh yeah, this is how
the
it
group
usually
stage.
goes.
It was funny because I was at a press conference with Tuchel after the Panama game, so the last group stage game, or it was Panama, not Paraguay, Panama, and one of the reporters was basically just like, hey, so you guys played very well against Croatia. What happened since? And he was like, well, what matters is that we're through. Of course, classic. And I love Thomas Tuchel, but he did not do what needed to be done against Argentina.
No, we did not. Less said about that, the better. We actually watched, so that first game against Croatia, we watched in here. This
Yeah.
is NPLH in its physical form. Well, one half of it, the other
Amazing.
half is there. These desks that you can see there,
Yeah.
this is like a co-work space, and they fold away, and there's a screen there. This is this high-tech kind of pointing equipment I've got
Yeah,
here.
you just pull it down.
Yeah, that pulls down. So we watched the England-Croatia game in here. Everyone was buzzing. Came back, what was it, a week later for the Ghana game. The air was just
Yeah.
sucked out of the room. We were just like,
Yeah.
oh, wow, that is just, let's go home and just forget that ever happened. But
It's not coming
that's World
home.
Cup
Let's
football.
go home.
Yeah, maybe it's not coming home after all. And then we dared to dream again. Yeah, they got us.
I mean, it was a great tournament for England. Of course, not the desired outcome, but in I mean, I got to I was at the Panama game in New York, and then was doing stuff for Versus ahead of the Norway game, and at House and Hall, which was kind of the official England fan zone for the tournament. And like Daniel Sturridge was there earlier in the like my friends went and they met Daniel Sturridge, and he wasn't there for that game, but it was like I got there at 2. The game started at 5 in New York, I think. Yeah, that 2 to 5. It was either 12 to 3 or 2 to 5. It was 2 to 5. 2 to 5. So I was there at 2, and it was already like packed. And I stayed after my work was done and just like got adopted by these English boys, and it was the most fun, like one of the most fun games that I had throughout the entire tournament. And as I'm sure we'll get into, like I had a nonstop tournament. I can't say like I'm for the sake of my health, like it needed to be over. But my friends and I will like never forget this summer. It's sort of like, how do we top it? I think we want to go. I mean, we want to go to Brazil next summer, and that's I think how you top it is. I mean, we're women in watching the Women's World Cup, and I've never been to Brazil, and of course, like have heard just the most amazing things about it, and obviously in terms of what football culture means to them there. So we're all like putting eggs in a basket for next summer because we're like we can't have it be that this was it. Like it was just too much fun, and as long as I've lived in New York, I've been looking forward to a World Cup in New York. So now coming down from that and being like, oh, this isn't going to happen again. It's really interesting. I think we're all sort of like, what next? And at the same time, it doesn't feel like it's gone anywhere, which is really exciting to be like, I think I was really worried that people were just going to stop caring. And it doesn't feel like that, at least not yet.
Yeah, I think you've probably lucked out in that to keep that feeling going. You've got
Yeah.
the best possible country hosting a Women's
The
World
Women's
Cup
World
next
Cup.
summer.
I know.
That
And like
is going to be
I
an
met
absolute vibe.
Marta the night before the final, and she'll play, and that'll be her last tournament, obviously. And she means everything to women's soccer in general, but like women in the game. And so that was really special. It was like it was a Rexona event. I was there for Versus as well, but for the night before the final, and it was kind of okay, what Men's World Cup is wrapping up, so like let's look ahead. And like Lucy Bronze was there. I'm a Chelsea fan, so I got to meet her, and of what the Lionesses meant to. I was here in Santa Fe actually, their first Euros win. I remember so well watching Alessia Russo's back heel against Sweden from my bedroom upstairs. And so it's just funny like how far all of that's come being back here now this summer, and that having been like 4 years ago. But yeah,
Yeah, life comes at you fast.
it
really
does.
does.
It does.
So if we could use this World Cup and your work with Versus and your work around it as the, dare I say, the pinnacle to date, because there's plenty more ahead for you. But if we're just using that as that's where we are right now. You've worked a World Cup for a massive platform like Versus too. So that's a double whammy, not just getting to like kind of, profile a tournament like that in the first place, but with someone like that is great. How does the journey start that leads you there?
Yeah.
And I know that it's a bit of a long question, maybe.
No, I mean, it's a great question because I mean, a lot of it is luck. A lot of it definitely is like I'm trying to get myself out of the mindset that it's all luck, but that there was a lot of hard work and kind of course we saw so much slop from this like tournament in terms of just influencers being everywhere. Like like we were joking in New York about like the Raytheon Palantir brand activations. Like there is a ton of that. But for so many people, it was years and years of hard work. And I think a lot of it started for me I've been running a Substack for a long time, and that's kind of fallen by the wayside as I've gotten more paid opportunities, which is great, but hopefully can kind of go back to that now that things are slowing down a little bit. Um, so starting that, I did it to coincide with the Women's World Cup in 2023. I mean, I was a journalism major in school, so was doing some sports journalism, always was involved in writing, but really was like, this is a niche I want to explore. Um, Starting with the Women's World Cup, I was like, I want to publish what I'm writing again, but also not feel like it's the only thing. Like growing up, I attached a ton of my self-worth to my writing. I was an editor of a small magazine when I was pretty young, and then kind of just didn't know how to like exist without that. Um, so it kind of turned me off writing for a little bit. And then I was like, no, I want to come back to this and have fun doing it and not feel pressure and not feel like I'm doing it. Like it's for me. That's, I think, the wonder of especially 3 years ago, Substack. Now it's a little bit more like monetized and everyone has it. But just in terms of at the time, I was like, this is just a place where I can publish my silly little thoughts. And over time, I had writers that I really looked up to, like working for platforms that I really admired, reach out, which was awesome. One of them was some people from Versus. I got to know Johnny K, the CCO. And then really, I feel like what happened for me in terms of getting super involved in the space was because my Substack was more general sports. I always loved soccer and probably talked about it the most, but would cover everything. Um, for Versus, why it feels really full circle is last summer, around this time, I think early in July of 2025, Versus posted something, and it was about like a women in football event in London. And I commented on it and I was like, wish I could be there. And this girl, who is now one of my best friends in the whole world, Sarah DeLuzio, also commented on it, saying the same thing. And Sarah works for Classic Football Shirts. She does marketing and content for Classic Football Shirts here in the US. Um, and I just saw her profile and I was like, I think I'd be friends with this girl. So I DM'd her and was like, we should get a coffee or like drinks. And it took probably 6 weeks for that to actually happen, but it did. And I met her roommate, who's also plays soccer. She doesn't work in soccer right now, but played collegiately. They both did, and that's how they know each other. And from there, the kind of doors just opened. I met all like these girlfriends that I was talking about, how we all like were literally putting together a friend group brand deck to be like, this is why you should take all 10 of us to Brazil next summer. Um, like from there, I'm like, I wish I was kidding. Like that's literally what we're doing. We're making like a deck to like send to brands and like publications to be like, this is why like we should all go. Starting early. And I think so to Brazil really quickly, we're gonna be there no matter what, because the tickets are really cheap, as they should be. I think anytime you see anything about people getting priced out of soccer games, it's sad. At the same time, I do always, as much as I like being able to afford to go to a women's game, sometimes it makes me happy to see when they're expensive because I'm like, people care.
Yeah.
I think that's like what I'm seeing now with women's sports in New York and across the US, which is, oh, like I can't just go and spend $25, but it's a good sign that it's getting more expensive. Um, but I met all these girls and I just feel like I and fell into the community and started getting invited to things and meeting people. And so that in that sense, that's where the luck came from. I met the right people at the right time. And I've told this story like so many times to people because to me, it's really important that like people know that I feel like I owe a lot to my friends. I think a lot of people owe a lot to their friends and it's worth like shouting them out. But the like really full circle is the fact that like both Sarah and I were sort of like, oh, we'd love to do work for Versus. And then I'm here. I started reaching out to people, and my first story for them was in April leading up to the World Cup about the US men's not like the US men's national team kit release for Nike. And then the Mom Donnie piece, which will probably like I don't know how that gets topped. I Amy Cripps, the wonderful editor-in-chief, she liked a comment of mine on something, and I literally was just like, I'm gonna take this as I'm gonna reach out and be like, I'm here. I would love to do work for you guys during the World Cup. And so we scheduled a networking call, and then I woke up at 8 a.m. for the call that day. And she was like, so can you go to New Jersey to interview Zoran tomorrow? And I was like, of course.
Yes.
I would love to do, like, that's a dream come true. I think I'm a New Yorker. He makes me believe in local politics. He is the reason, like, I'm from Texas, and we don't need to get into politics too much, but um you like, the kind of thing about being from Texas is you don't really want to give up your Texas voters, like, voter ID, because a vote in Texas means so much when it comes to like a presidential election.
Okay,
Like
yeah.
a Democratic vote, which is like a liberal vote, which is what I'm voting, means a lot in Texas, as opposed to somewhere like New York where it's almost always going to go blue. But Zoran Mamdani made me change that because of local politics, and like how badly he made me think, if I live in New York and I complain about things in New York, I have to vote in New York. That's just only right. That's like the symbiotic relationship. I can't just be here and not vote. So in that sense, he's meant a lot to me. And then, of course, his relationship with soccer and sports in general, is just kind of the coolest thing in the entire world. He is just like a 35-year-old at the end of the day,
Yeah.
who grew up in New York and grew up a huge Arsenal fan. I will say a lot of people after that story thought I was an Arsenal fan. I was like, oh,
You didn't wear that, did
this is
you?
gonna come as a huge shock.
Yeah, you didn't wear that jersey, did you, when you met him? Surely.
No, and I had
Just to
to,
rub
like,
it in.
Amy, the day of, was sort of like, do you have like any Arsenal accessories? She knows I'm not, but she was like, could you find any Arsenal accessories to bring? And like my friend Steele like gave me a scarf, and so we put it on him for the photo, like the photos that we took. And he gave us some really good sound bites about Arsenal. And he's the most charming like exactly as you would think he would be, the most charming person. So that was so great, and just the trust that Amy and the Versus team showed me. There was a lot of background work for that story that I just got lucky enough to be pulled into it. It ended up just being like they needed someone in New York. And kind of the same with all the presenting stuff that I've done for them since too. I think I'm just kind of their US person, at least for the World Cup. I don't know what's next with Versus. I have great relationships with everyone on that team. I love them. When I come to London, I will be hitting them all up. But it was a dream come true to do all this work for them for the World Cup.
You've been a little bit hard on yourself with the mention of luck quite consistently. I mean, you've kind of moved the needle yourself, so to speak. You know, you've kind of maybe in terms of the comment, and you spot that comment that, you know, the similar one to yours. You could have looked at that 5 minutes later and see 10 other comments, and that one's buried way down.
Yeah.
I get that, but you're the one with the kind of the confidence to reach out, and
I think
you've taken a swing.
Yeah,
Right.
but I also think that, like, then from there, that was like the luck and like, I was like, whatever, I'll send her a DM. But from there, then just building these relationships and building these friendships within the football space is what gave me the confidence to be like, I do deserve to be taking on these opportunities. Like, I had such bad imposter syndrome growing up, and I still do it. I'm still trying to figure that out. But like, my family and I were talking this morning about how I had a film in high school that went to a festival called South by Southwest. And I literally would wake up with anxiety dreams being like, oh, they just accepted the film to make fun of me in person. And so I think it's still like getting over some of that.
Yeah.
But I
Is that
and
a
I
curse
think
of a
also,
creative,
like,
do you think? Is that like that's a common thread through
yeah,
many creatives, right?
I
Because you
think
put yourself
it
out
is, but I
there
also
with your
think for
work.
women, and then for me, a lot of it is also I didn't actually play soccer or football growing up or now. Like, I've started to pass around the balls with my friend and like balls with my friends, but the New York space is so um centered around playing, which is amazing, and kind of that's the core of the game. And for a while I was like, oh, I shouldn't be showing up to these tournaments or these games because I don't play. And that's not true at all. Like, that's, I think, where a lot of the original imposter syndrome for me came from, because I was like, what right do I have to talk about this or authority to talk about it because I didn't play? But of course, like and I'm a journalist. I'm a trained journalist. Most sports journalists like don't go on to play at like a really high level. You think about like your Rebecca Lowe's or Kate Abdos, they're not playing, they're not former players. That's a pundit's job. It's very different to be the true journalist. And while I'm not doing like match day analysis or like my work is more features or lifestyle stuff within the game, I think it is important for there to be people who love it. And also what I think it's really important like to acknowledge how important fans are too, because at the end of the day, I'm a fan. I'm a huge fan. I didn't play, but like fans are everything to the game. And I think that's, if anything, that's kind of what this World Cup showed, like very on a very high level, at a very visible level. It's, you saw the Norway fans in the row, all the Dutch fans as they do taking over the streets, and people here in America were really like endeared to all of that. And so that's I mean, it's for the fans. And so I come at it from like, expert is not the right word because no, I don't think anyone can really ever be an expert. I certainly don't want to posit myself to be, but like from the analytical perspective of like a journalist, but then also like the complete infatuation side of it as a fan.
With all of that
Yeah.
commitment to it and with that love for it and the work you put into it, and I'm not in trying to catch you out. I'm just more of a curiosity than anything, because I
Yeah.
was speaking with, I don't know if you know, photographer Nicholas Polo. He's based over on
Yes.
the East Coast, right? So we were having a
Yes.
little back and forth, and the influencer thing came up in that conversation, although it wasn't on, on a podcast like this. So I'm just curious how that, like, what your reaction to that and your fellow hardworking photographers
Yeah.
and
Like
journalists. How, you've put in the yards, and then, there's I don't know how
so
you would describe it, like a, not an imposter, so to speak, but more like just they're there just because they've got some clout, I guess.
totally. But I also, so like my friend Sarah, who I was talking about, is how I kind of not fell into, like really just like found myself and found the confidence in this space. She's a content creator. Like I said, she does stuff for classic football shirts, but she's also a personal content creator. I think there are so many great content creators who've been doing this stuff for years. It's more the like when I would walk into an event and be like, oh, this isn't like the football people. There are so many great content creators here, and that is like the reality of where media is going. Um, I probably should learn how to do more content. Like I've gotten very comfortable on camera, but in terms of like editing, like I need to learn how to do that because it is kind of where the industry is headed. It's yeah. I think just think honestly, I love to see more women doing it.
Yeah.
So like, yeah, like my friend Sarah, I have a friend Lily who is a big Real Madrid fan. She's Ecuadorian, so she was at a ton of World Cup games, and she's like a journalist, but she does a lot of it kind of in more like real forms. And so I think it's a lot about adapting. And I don't want, like, I'm not here to slag anyone off, but like of course there are some times when it's like frustrating to see who gets opportunities, but to be completely honest, I just feel lucky for the ones that I've had so far. I think it's going to be interesting to see where it goes from here. Like, who now gets to continue to benefit from the fact that we had this huge World Cup and that people care about soccer or football, and now who gets to continue to talk about it and who continues to get these platforms. Um, but yeah, I mean, I think of course, and like I work full time in publicity too, and so I'm dealing with influencers all the time, and again, I think it's kind of just, it is what it is. There's a lot of really great ones, and then there's a lot of them who I'm like, why was okay, and this is because no one like Alex Earl is never gonna see this. I mean, I don't think so. Like, I'm like, why are you like getting like why are you at like the World Cup final? Like, and how much are you getting paid to be there when like most regular people have to pay like $10,000, and like so many people who deserve to be going to these World Cup games that I know never got to go to one in person. That's more where I'm like, it's the more macro of it all, where I'm like these huge, huge personalities where I'm like, do you really need to be there? Like, I don't want to see your Coca-Cola sponsored trip to the World Cup final. Like, it's really pissing me off.
That's exactly the
Yeah.
kind I was thinking about. Yeah, and may I
Yeah.
say you answered that very diplomatically leading up to that. So well done. That is a well trained journalist
Yeah.
in action there. But that's exactly the kind I'm talking about. It just leaves that kind of bitter taste in the mouth, I guess. And you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you are just
I
here
mean,
for the wrong reasons.
it
It's cost somebody
reinforces
else a seat.
where sorry. I mean,
No,
it
no.
just I think it reinforces where, like, football is in terms of, like I mean, as if we haven't seen that, like, over the last 8 weeks and then on a such a like, I mean, I can't even begin to get into what obviously was happening with FIFA this week, but it
Well,
shows
yeah,
exactly how commercial the game has become, which is I'm on one level, it's great that people care, and on another level, it's really disheartening that people who the people who actually care and who have actually cared, like, past tense and then through now, can't access it anymore. Like, it's no longer the people's game, it's Timothy Chalamet's game, it's Alex Earl's game, it's Trump's game, and where does that leave the people who care, like, actually care about it and who have been working to make this space so beautiful for as long as they have?
yeah, I
Um,
agree. I agree with all of that entirely. It's just it just elicits an eye roll for me when these faces come up on
yeah, and,
screen. You
like
know, it's like we're not here to see. I'm not here to watch this.
yeah, I think Adidas did a great job, like, with the branding for the tournament and all of the jerseys, and, I mean, we all loved the, like, Beckham, Zidane, De Piero ad, but, like, why was there, like, a famous person before every match bringing out the ball? Like, it's just why? Like,
Yeah.
I think yeah, I mean, it's an American World Cup. We are very famously, um, kind of celebrity-oriented, fame-oriented, very commercial, capitalistic, but, like, yeah, there was just parts of it where I was like, "Okay, like, let's just play football," and I think everyone at a certain point felt that way if they didn't always feel that way and was got to a point of fatigue. I think by the final and then of course the halftime show. And it's funny because for the final, I was standing like 100 feet below Wayne Rooney. And then I saw him watching the show. I was like turning around and and he was just like over the ledge like this watching it. And then of course got on the BBC and was like, I think it was a load of crap. Like, and
Yeah.
all my friends were like texting me about it. And I was like, I guess if like he just said that like right above me. And he was completely right. It's just, and the hypocrisy of a country that's like the whole thing is love, and then meanwhile we go on to bomb children like the next day in Iran. Like it's it leaves a bad taste in your mouth. And I think when the games started being played, and of course like taking like New Jersey Transit with like I did with the Brazil fans, the first match that we hosted, Brazil Morocco, I like it brought tears to my eyes because again, I come at it from a fan perspective and that's why I find it beautiful is how much people care. Like nothing makes people care like football. Name like one thing. Like it
Yeah, that's a
just
really interesting point. And sorry to cut you off, but what you've
no,
just
no,
said
no, please.
there
Sorry.
is a
I
great reminder.
ramble.
So no, not at all. But like what you've just said there is a really, I think it's a really great point. So what we see on the TV, we're bombarded with celebrities, influencers, all this kind of
Yeah,
thing, controversial faces, halftime shows, all that. But like when you're actually there and you are the boots on the ground and you're around the people, you're experiencing it in its distilled form. This is just people coming
exactly.
together to watch a game, and it is still
And
there. You just got to
it
get
just
through a couple more layers
it
to
gives me
find
like
it.
chills to think about it. Like I was at the Norway Brazil game as well, and I mean, I was always like like I can pull up text receipts where I was like Norway will beat Brazil in this game because I don't think Brazil played well at all the entire tournament. And like, we don't even need to get into how they like messed up by not bringing Joao Pedro and taking Igor Thiago, who played 10 minutes. And then Ancelotti was like, what did I do? Brazilians wanted to see Neymar play more than they wanted to win a World Cup. Again,
Yeah,
I'm just
it's not a
saying this,
bad shout. Yeah,
but um, watching the row in person was one of the craziest, like most beautiful experiences of my life. Um, I mean, it's this concept of collective effervescence. Going to a sports game, specifically, again, I think soccer or football. Like, I'm gonna go back and forth. I'm American, but it's it's like going to a concert. It's religion. It's literally religion, and anything that you can share collective memories like that with thousands of other people. Like, I want to be doing that all the time. I want to be telling stories about that all the time. Like, I think that to me is what football is these incredible collective memories. Even before I feel like I was like a real football fan, like, I remember that because I'm 26, so like really the first World Cup that I remember was 2010 in South Africa, and I had a German au pair, and she like bought like me and my sister like Germany shirts, and it was like Miroslav Klose and Thomas Muller, and of course they didn't even win that year, but like I just remember being so enamored by the German team, and then 4 years later, I mean I was working at a camp that summer, so I wasn't able to watch too much of the World Cup, but I was really good friends with a Brazilian guy, and of course, it was the Sete a and just it's like I remember the flashbulb memories. Like I remember all this stuff so well, and I can't tell you like what I ate yesterday, but I can tell you like exactly what Marco said to me when Brazil lost. Yeah, like 7-1 against Germany at home in 2014. And so I'm just hard pressed to find something else in the world that like makes people on such a macroscopic level like feel that way. And that's what draws me to football. It's what's always drawn me to sports. But I didn't grow like I said, I really didn't grow up playing soccer. It wasn't huge. I mean, people tons of people play and like FC Dallas has an incredible um youth system. But like so many of the guys on the US men's national team played at FC Dallas, but it's just not ingrained in culture, obviously, the same way it is in the UK or Brazil or Argentina. And um, I, I always love sports, and the same thing like with hockey, which was kind of the first sport that I loved. My dad is a huge hockey fan. I for a long time was like, I don't really get it, and then I went to Vancouver and we were staying really close to where their hockey team plays when I was like also 10. And we went outside the hotel and I just saw thousands of people walking to the arena because it was right before the game was about to start. And I was like, why do people care so much about this? And that's what it's always has been for me is this like, if something makes people care this much, it has to be incredibly special. And football is incredibly special because it's, I mean, it's the most popular sport in the world.
You're not going to hear any arguments from me on that, Zoe, at all. Completely with you on that. If playing wasn't part of your
Yeah.
childhood, where does writing come in?
I always wrote. I think, I mean, I like, oh, it's so funny because I remember just
Are
like
you a
writing.
journal
I
girl?
mean, yeah, I journaled, but also just like would write like short stories and would consume media. And then, I mean, I totally wrote One Direction fan fiction, and I can like, I have um, no embarrassment or shame saying that.
There's our
I
first
think I
social
would just
clip right
latch on. Yeah, first person from Dallas, first person to write One Direction like on the pod.
Yeah.
You're welcome. So I
They
would
write
like,
themselves.
yeah. I mean, I wish I had written some of the ones that like got adapted into movies, but it's fine. It wasn't that good. Um, but I think I would latch onto these pop culture moments and be like, what can I like run with like this? So my Google Docs folder has just been full of stuff as long as I've had access to my Gmail. I think I would write with my friends too. We would make like collaborative documents and I think, or like stories and storytelling. And I think for me, because I write, but I'm also in PR. And then I started doing the presenting stuff for Versus this summer, which was so fun, but I had never done it before. And what I've started to kind of describe the work that I like, I'm a storyteller, I guess is what I would say. And I just have always loved listening to stories. I've always loved telling stories. Like I want to tell stories to people. And writing is just journal, like I said, I mean, I still journal most days. I I write a ton. I wish I wrote more for pleasure now, but I think it started as writing for pleasure. And then as like a teenager, there was a magazine over here called Rookie magazine that was all kind of teenage girls, and that like really spoke to me. And I met some people through that and became the story editor of a magazine called Crybaby, which went to print a couple times a year. We had like some pretty big like at the time it felt big, like cover stars like a singer named Ravina, Sophia Lillis, who was in like the It series. I'm trying to remember who else. Skate Kitchen, like it felt like so real. And it was, I mean, it was so real and so amazing to be doing that in high school and then throughout my first 2 years of college. Um, from there, I became the editor in chief of our fashion magazine at my university, which was Boston University. Um, so I just like the magazine thing has always been part of my life or part of my, I think, adult and then coming of age into adult life. And I didn't know kind of how that was gonna translate for me after I graduated because I was decided to not like actively pursue writing as like my full-time career. And that's how like I said, after a year and a half, like a year, I guess a year in New York, I was like, you know what, I want to come back to this, but like at a very low stakes level, which is where I kind of the Substack came in. And then the Substack did open doors for me, which is like, I think what I learned from that is like, do what you want. Like, and also don't take yourself too seriously, but don't be scared to like tell people what you're thinking and like publish publish what you care about and like get it out there, even if you're not doing it through like a traditional media platform. I mean, Substack is so empowering or just like blog. I mean, but it's like blogging's been like that for forever. There was something I was going to say and completely forgot, but I'll probably come back to it.
We'll
Oh,
get back to
actually,
it.
what it was when I was in university, I kind of fell away from sports because I was so focused on fashion. And I was like, the two can't possibly coexist. This was 6 years ago, or like, I mean, my freshman year of university was, oh my God, it was 9 years ago, I guess, because 28, no, 8 years ago. And I was like, the two can't possibly coexist. And flash forward, obviously, now, and that's all anyone wants to talk about is like the intersection of fashion and sports. But at the time, it was so novel. And I was like, if I want to be the fashion girl, I can't also be the girl who cares about sports. And then COVID happened. And that was where I really fell in love with football. Because American sports shut down. I mean, obviously, European football did too, but it came back much earlier than other American sports. And we had in America, you could watch The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary, which I did, of course. Everyone did. It benefited so much from the fact that it was COVID. And then you could watch Champions League at a certain point. And so if like I don't like I remember very
The bubble.
clearly.
They played them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember. Yeah, that
And then there was bubble sports
condensed
eventually too.
format. Yeah.
Yeah. My hockey team made it to the Stanley Cup final, which is the like championship game or championship
That is
series.
the massive,
Yeah,
huge
like
trophy. Yeah,
huge
beautiful.
silver
Yeah,
trophy
yeah.
that like you drink beer out of.
I used to play
And yeah,
NHL
yes,
95 on my PlayStation or something like
that
that
is so
back in the
funny.
day.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm
I was
old.
born the year the Stars won the Stanley Cup, the only Stanley Cup. Like I said, my dad is diehard fan, season ticket holder since they moved to Dallas, and um, so that is kind of like my first sports love. Like, I saw Chelsea win a Champions League. I need to see them win a Prem, but like there would be nothing more special to me than watching the Stars win a Stanley Cup because it would be something I would get to really share with my dad. Whereas like Chelsea I'll get into Chelsea now, but like it's not a great story, but I think it like takes on like a cool, like it gets better. I to distill it down very simply, my ex-boyfriend was a Chelsea fan. So when we started dating, I was like, I'm gonna be a Chelsea fan. I also think I was like inclined to it. Like, I love London. I'm definitely a little posh. Like, I love I love Southwest London. Like, I also don't like the color red. I was
Does
never
that
gonna
tally up
be a
with? Sorry to cut you off. Does that tally up with
yeah,
where you're from in Texas? Does that kind of
not
like are there
like not
similarities?
really. It's just like I know like when I go to London, like I wanted to like be like in Kensington, like I want to be in more of those areas. I mean, that was
Spiritual home. Yes, you're a spiritual
yeah,
home, right? Yeah.
except like now it's like I love going everywhere in London. Like my I mean I do want to move there at some point and I would not be living in Southwest London. I couldn't afford that. But I do think like I love walking around that area and being like, this is just such a beautiful place. And I definitely, I mean, I like I said, I was super into the fashion thing. So that's, I think at the time it was like, yeah, the posh aspect of it. What I don't think anyone now would really describe me as posh, but you know what? Like, that's kind of what it was. And I think the bigger one was that I don't like the color red. I've never liked the color red. So I could never have been a United or an Arsenal fan or a Liverpool fan. Just, that was never going to happen for me. And I love blue. Like, that's the, like, I'm wearing the Chelsea top now. Hattie Crowther designed it for me a few years ago. Shout out to her. Yeah, I just asked her for a custom Chelsea corset and she was like, here you go. She's the best. So I it was always going to be a blue team. And um I fell in love with a lot of those players on that team the first year, like 2020. Like, I for my birthday that year, my roommates got me like a mug that said, it was like check boxes and it said single, like taken, and then it was like mentally dating Mason Mount or whatever. Like, I loved Mason Mount. Like, I loved all of those guys. Of course, like, still, I mean, love Reece James and he's never leaving, thank God. Um, and just really like fell in love with what was going on. I mean, I became a fan at a fairly difficult time, but then by the end of it, we won a Champions League. So I also joke that like the first year that I was a Chelsea fan, like, we won the Champions League. Of course, it's been kind of downhill from there. But um that, yeah, it's not like I don't have family in London that like got me into it. I just was like, I want to be a Prem fan. And this is the team that I've chosen. And people just like, when I broke up with Carter, like who I'm now on really good terms with, because I mean, I didn't, yesterday we were texting about like Danny Welbeck. Like, I still talk to him about like every Chelsea transfer when we got out of the financial fair play stuff and got Mihailo Mudryk back on the same day. We were like at the same time texting each other and we're like, oh my God. Like, so we have a great relationship about Chelsea. And like, I was in a shoot for them this summer. They came to New York and we're doing some stuff with their new home kit. And Jason, their like social media admin, was like, "Do you want to be in the shoot?" And I was like, "Of course." I was texting Carter about it, and I was like, "Hope it's okay that like your ex is in like your childhood club's like photo shoot." And he was
That
like,
must
"I'm
be
just
so
not."
strange. He's
Yeah,
essentially giving you this club, you
yeah.
know, and
And then now
there
I'm
you are
like,
just in
yeah,
a kit
and
launch,
I'm
yeah,
like
casual,
friends with
no
people
problem.
at it, like at the club, and he he was like, "I'm honestly just glad it's someone who cares," which was like very sweet.
That is, you're living his
Um,
dream, and that's good that he's,
yes, yeah, and so like I think he had
yeah,
like a really good head on his shoulders about it, but
yeah.
since we broke up, like, I've been to Stamford Bridge 3 times. I saw them play City at an FA Cup semifinal at Wembley in 2024. I've seen their women's side a few times. I like saw them play Gotham here. Um, it's like I met Didier Drogba this summer. It was incredible. Like, that was insane for me. And like then, yeah, getting to text Carter about that, he literally was like, "What the hell?" Like, but again,
He's going to block you
that's
soon if
where
you
I
keep
think
giving him these updates. One day he's going to say, you know what, that's enough.
enough. I mean, he's had really good like
You're gonna go
attitude
to
about it. So
Stamford
I mean,
Bridge
I
for a
think
league
for
deciding game or something, and he's going to say, you know
yeah,
what,
it
that's it.
seems
That's
like
the final
he
straw.
kind of is enjoying like living vicariously through me in that respect. And like, hey Carter, if you're listening, like again, like we just broke up because I was moving to New York, but like it it's really funny because he gave me such an amazing gift. I would say there's other people who would joke that like he gave me an STD when it comes to Chelsea.
My team would be more
But
like that. I'm a West Ham fan,
yeah,
so my team would be more like an STD, sean as we got relegated
yeah.
to the
Well,
Championship.
how are you feeling about this
Yeah, you're
season?
clear. I think you're clear. You're fine. Don't worry about it.
How are you feeling about this season?
You know what? I'm conditioned for this kind of nonsense. So after a few days, it was fine. It was
Yeah,
absolutely fine.
okay.
Yeah, we get a few. I'm now looking on the positive side. We get 8 extra games, a few different teams
Is
to
it really
play.
8 extra games?
Yeah, yeah.
I
I'm
mean,
really trying
I
to lean
have
into the
to think you
positives. Those 8 games may
yeah.
not go well. There's no guarantee they'll go well, but
I
there's
have
8
to
more.
think you guys are coming straight back up, but the championship is so difficult. Like, 8 extra games, it's just, can you do it
Yeah,
on a
it's a
cold,
tough
rainy
league.
night in Stoke? Like,
Not often. No, not
yeah.
often,
I mean,
unfortunately.
I, of course, have a bunch of Spurs, like, friends, and we were all like, don't worry, girl. Like, we'll watch Championship with you. Like, yeah, I think most of us kind of wished it was them and not West Ham.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people that did. It was too good to be true, though.
It was way too good to be
we
true.
don't live in utopia, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, unfortunately we don't. But yeah, that's like my story with Chelsea, and I mean, they're, like I said, I think watching the hockey team win a championship would be the most important sports like experience I could have. But in terms of like the team that means the most to me, it's definitely Chelsea. Because again,
How
I
was
think it's
this?
just yeah,
Sorry, Zoe, go on.
yeah. No. It's just like like people don't care about like how people care about it in such a different way, and to me, it's so beautiful. And of course, like I mean, there's a lot that's wrong with like English. I mean, English male like fan culture. I mean, there's a lot that's wrong with American male fan culture. Um, I also think that's like what's important to me about like being in sports is it's still like I meet so many men who are like meet me and they're either like, oh, you don't actually know, or I don't want to talk to you because I'm scared you'll know more than me, which like I do for the most part.
That's
And so
the
it's
real
like
one. That's the real
yeah,
fear. They lead with the you don't actually know because they're like
yeah. And
they
so
don't maybe.
yeah. And so I mean there's still like some very like vile like parts of it, obviously, like, and it kind of is this like I mean, it's a statistic of when England loses, the domestic violence rate spikes. And that is like, that's like a huge, like a very big example of it and a very real and scary example of it. But I think it's a bigger picture for like issues that happen all the time, of course, within sports. I mean, so I think for me also I love the women's game. I love women's soccer, and like I fell in love really with soccer also through the US women's national team and how they fought for equal pay. That was incredibly inspiring to me. And as a camp counselor, I was like to all the girls that were my campers as like 8-year-olds, I was like, you need to look up to these women. Like it's the best of us. Um but I also think it's really important for like women to belong in the men's soccer space. Like I have just as much of a right to be to be writing about it, creating content, telling stories, or being just in the space or at the games as anyone does. And it still feels like a little bit like segregated in that sense. And like there's a lot like I was like groped at the FA Cup semifinal, and like I don't say that in like a pity way, but it's just like that's like what fan culture is, and still like men who are going to these games and drinking a ton of beer then look at a woman and are like, this is what I should do.
No,
And
I'm
so
really sorry that happened to you. That's
yeah,
just
no, and I really don't say it in like a way because it happened, but it's like it shows what's still wrong, I think, with like a lot of the game. And then of course, I mean, then you have like Mason Greenwood, and like I was with an England fan, like a guy, an England fan, right after the Norway game, and he was scrolling on his phone, and it was like Mason Greenwood, and he was like, "Damn shame, like he abused his girlfriend because he would have been here." And I was like, I think it's just damn shame he abused his girlfriend because that's the wrong thing to do. Full stop. Not because he now can't play soccer for England. It's just because
it's fascinating where the priorities
ruined
lay,
someone's
right?
life.
It's like, it's fascinating where that particular fan's priorities are.
Yeah.
Like who would make this World Cup campaign more successful so that I can enjoy this experience? Forget what's going on over here. Like
It's
I
for
want to,
me.
this is, and
Yeah.
that is, I mean, that's insane. It really is
Yeah.
insane. And I think like going back to your previous point, I don't think anything can highlight the fragility of the male ego like a woman talking about men's football.
I
Really.
think it's just, yeah, it's like, I just want one day, I mean, I really hope one day that just won't be the case. And like most of the men that I spend time with are so not like that. Like I have met so many amazing men in the football space through this World Cup that like, I'm like, I would die for you. And I'm like, they would die for like, and it's been like beautiful. Like so much of this World Cup has been beautiful. But I also think that that's here in New York. And I'm in Santa Fe right now, but New York where I live. And what I think the reason for that though is because the football culture was always here. And like it's been building for so long. And obviously, again, it's not like the most popular professional sport, but you should see how many people are playing it at 8 a.m. in a park in Bushwick, or what Mom Donnie is doing to make fields more accessible for kids and for adults in rec leagues. And like my friend Kiros helps run a thing called NYC Footy. And it's just, I've met all these
I know,
amazing
yeah, I
people who
know
have
it,
been
yeah.
putting in the work for so long. And that's why then this community, it just even kind of took it up a notch, but because all of the groundwork was there and because people have always cared. And I mean, to me, it's like very sad that it's now over, but it's also like, okay, we have like, like prom starts in 3 weeks. Like I know where all my friends are going to be. We're going to go to our bar in Williamsburg, Iona, and we'll be there at 9 a.m. and it'll be awesome. And then we get to do that for a year. And then it's the Women's World Cup and it just doesn't actually stop. It's, I mean, I think the brand slop will stop, which is good. And, but I mean, of course, I think there's some worry about like, I don't, I don't necessarily know what my next football assignment is right now. But that like, that like, I work a different full-time job. And for me, it's just about continuing to like tell stories about the sport that obviously everyone had their eyes on for 6 weeks this summer, but doesn't stop and doesn't get any less magical now that it's the Men's World Cup is over. So I think that's like what we saw, like what it was this summer, and it was beautiful and incredible. And it's hard to imagine like a summer topping this one, but it's also like only up from here, I think, for New Yorkers in the space and like women in the space. And yeah, just me and my friends and the community that has taken me in and given me so much and has deserved the eyes that have come from the World Cup.
I really feel quite warmed by the idea that you're going to go back to this Williamsburg bar, Iona, in August, and
Yes.
you're going to meet up with your friends. And now those conversations over a game, and I don't know what you're drinking at 9 o'clock in the morning. I won't ask you
It's
to say that
it's either
publicly.
Stella or Guinness, to be honest. Like we're
Good on
drinking
you.
at 9.
Yeah, good for you, as you should. But like those meetups are now going to be enriched by kind of recollections of a World Cup in the city.
For sure.
How beautiful
Yeah,
is
like
that?
Iona, like we were there for a few times during the World Cup too, and like we have plenty of memories to talk about, even just from being at that bar. Like when we go back, we'll be like, oh, remember when we were here for Colombia, Uzbekistan? And we had, yeah, like just yeah, I think it's like I said, for me, I think it's funny because football is about obviously what's happening on the pitch and then what happens outside of it in terms of transfers and people like Lamine Yamal waving the Palestinian flag at Barca's parade. There's so many incredible moments that happen in real time, but for me, football is about memory. And um, like I said, these memories that just you latch onto and somehow never leave. And I have so many of those from the summer, and obviously also some that I'm not going to remember as well because we were drinking. But like it's these memories that like and it's so many of these important memories for me are centered around football in a way nothing else is like that for me. And there's so many people who I know would agree with me. But yeah, it's obviously I love watching a football game in real time, but what makes football special to me is the memories that it creates and like the bonding. Like it's given me like now some of my best friends. And what is more beautiful than that? I just
Yeah,
like I have a hard time. Yeah, like I said, I just can't really imagine something else that can do that. And what was also special about the World Cup, um, which is it happens every time with the World Cup, but is people who didn't care are starting to care. And like all my friends who were like, "Oh, we don't really know about like football," would be like, "I do want to watch a game with you," or tell me what's going on. Like, is Colombia still in the World Cup? Like, because I'm doing this project and like would love to like make it tie into that. And it's just everyone cared, and I hope people like remember that. And then, but of course, like I said, like there needs to be a priority on the people who have kind of always cared too. But that being said, like I'm a newer football fan. Like it's not a gatekeepy thing. It's just more like how I think, committed you are to it, and what you do with like sharing those like memories and making it beautiful for everyone around you. I don't know. That was
No, I think there's often like there may be some disparaging looks towards overseas fans of
yes.
English
And
clubs,
I get it to a
but
certain
to like
extent.
hear the way you speak about Chelsea, and and I'm sure you've got a lot of friends that feel the same way. Your friend you mentioned that's the Real Madrid fan, and I'm sure you've got friends that are supporting other London
Yeah.
clubs. Like it's hard to argue with that passion. Like
Yeah.
you're there at 9 o'clock in the morning watching the game in a pub, and there are, you know, traditional fans that will be over here that aren't even doing that. You know, they just but they throw the stones, and I think it's fantastic that a fan base can spread that far and wide. Like there you are
That's
sitting over
yeah.
in Texas, and
Yeah.
you're connected to
Like,
London in
why
that
am I
way. You
getting
know,
up at 7:30 a.m. to watch, yeah, a team in
yeah,
London,
no
to
one's
your
paying you
point?
to do that, so that's true
Yeah, no one's
love.
paying me to do that. It's just because I love it and I care about it. And I think, yeah, that is another like reason why it's so beautiful, is it's so far reaching. And I think
The
Chelsea has
f-
done a really good job. And I don't like, I just obviously don't follow the media as a, of other clubs as much as I follow Chelsea, but they've done a really good job of like highlighting fans like around the world. And I mean, that was like even the thing that I did with them was like, yeah, the Chelsea fans in New York. And then Jason, the admin, was like, bring other like, who else do you know who's like a huge Chelsea fan? And he was like, and they should be in the shoot too. And that's like, it wasn't just like random people. And like, I'm certainly no model, but it was like the like real fans. And that like, that's how you build community. I think we joke a lot about like Arsenal being the culture club, and especially when they weren't winning, but that is kind of what made them, I think, so accessible slash so appealing to so many people, because it was like, we're while the product on the pitch may not be the best, what are we doing to like really make ourselves approachable and appealing and interesting to people everywhere? And it worked. And I think now that Chelsea is not winning as much as we're used to, they're trying to do that as well. Or like realizing how important it is to connect with fans in different ways than just like, okay, we win all the time. We always finish the season with at least one trophy. Um, and because that is like, football is more than, of course, it's great to win, but like Chelsea had a bullshit season, like a horrible season, really just awful to watch. And like, I'm still somehow like, and next year is going to be great. I'm delusional already. And we signed
it's the
Morgan
hope that
Rogers.
kills you.
I
Is
was
there
like,
is
oh
the
my
hope that
God, no, no,
kills
no,
you?
no, 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 no. Like, ugh. And like, literally the same day we lost the FA Cup final. And so what's also great about like this group of girls, we're all fans of different teams. So it's fun to like, we'll go watch whatever. Like, if it's a good game, we'll go watch. And like, but I do have a City friend. And so we were watching the FA Cup finals together. And you know what? I will maintain there were some bullshit calls in that. But at the end of the day, we did not win. And um, I was so pissed. And we had like a full day of like other activities ahead of us. And I was just in a very sour mood. And then 2 hours later, we signed Javi Alonso, and I was like, all is forgiven. Like,
We are
yeah,
back in the game.
yeah, we're back, baby. It was truly like the meme of like, it's so over, we're so back. Like,
Yeah.
so yeah, I think they find a way to keep pulling you back in, and it's exciting. Like, I'm very excited for Prem to start again. I think all of my friends are. I I don't it'll be interesting to see like if there's more people who care about European leagues and the American leagues. I am not as It's bad for me to say this. I don't care as much about like MLS. I care a lot about the NWSL, like the women's league. I care a lot. Gotham is moving to they are currently actually based in New Jersey. They're moving to New York, like into New York proper in 2028, and that is like the best possible thing that could happen, because I go to women's like Liberty games, the women's basketball team in New York, which is in Brooklyn. They sell out games. And Gotham, it's just they're restricted by the fact that they're in Jersey. People
Where will
just
they
don't
go
want to get
in
on
New York?
it. They're going to
Purpose
so
built
in
or
Queens,
uh,
NYCFC and is building like so Citigroup, like same ownership as Man City, are building like a whole complex, a whole soccer complex. So it'll be Gotham and NYCFC moving into
okay.
those facilities, but they're going to be like state of the art Citigroup facilities, like Etihad sponsored stuff. And so, of course, like not the biggest fan of Citigroup, but am the biggest fan of women's sports getting the resources they deserve. And that will certainly be the case with this project. And Gotham's so good. Like I mean, Gotham is also now Chelsea Lights. Like they brought Girl Wrighton, Ann Katrin Berger, Jess Carter, and now Sam Kerr plays for plays for Gotham. And like I'm had like obsessed. So my caveat is I don't care about American men's soccer. I really care deeply about American women's soccer.
Sounds like there could be a Gotham corset on the wish
Yeah,
list
totally. I mean,
any
so
moment
there's
now, right?
a
Yeah.
designer named Jessa Chiro who has a brand called Coco Couture, and she made some really cool Gotham dresses and tops. And that was a Nike sponsored event before the World Cup, and I picked my England dress, but I want a Gotham thing from her for sure. Yeah.
Well, one last thing
Yeah.
before I let you carry on with your Santa Fe day,
No, sorry,
whatever's
I've just
left
been
of it.
talking your ear off.
No, not at all. No, that's good for me that you do that. It's easier for me. This, I guess, this kind of journey that you've set out on into the football/soccer space, that's born of your writing, and now there's a lot of time on camera, working with versus this kind of thing. What has been the impact on you as a person through this part of the journey so far, would you say? And how do you think that might kind of play out into the next phase?
Well, it's been everything. It's been everything to me because like I said, and I've been talking about, it's brought me friends, it's brought me confidence that I didn't have before. It has given me a real drive. Like I know that I want to continue. Like I loved what I did this summer, and I was talking to someone about this recently. I don't exactly know what like I said, I don't have a ton of work in the pipeline in this respect or like in the sports football respect. But what I know is that I want to continue to tell stories about sports and the way it connects us as people for the rest of my life. Like that's what I want to do. And I think that will end up taking on various forms as it already has. But I know that that's like so important to me. And I have for so long been like, I'm so interested in so many different things and can do so many different things. And I think that's so great. But it has given me just like, I kind of know more what I want out of life. I know what makes me excited. I know what gives me like purpose, like when I wake up. Um, the community that I've gained from doing all of this has been, I, I have some of my like best friends, like made best friends, made great friends. Like just I'm so grateful. It has changed me forever. Like working towards this World Cup and then I think that's why I'm like I refuse to believe that it ends here. It definitely doesn't because it's given I think so many people just like, oh, like I want to do this forever. Like I want to figure out even if we're not hosting a World Cup again in my lifetime, like World Cups continue to happen. I mean, sorry, also, that's not true. We have a women's World Cup in North America in like the next 5, I think it's Brazil and then it's North America. So it's like, that's not true at all. Probably won't have a men's World Cup for a very long time, but like the women's World Cup and the rate that women's soccer is growing. And I think just like being a woman in this space, like I love being here. Like I'm just happy to be kind of at the end of the day. And want to just continue telling these stories and bringing the feeling of this summer, which I think was so easy to to explain and everyone saw it and it was so tangible. But how do you continue to make people feel those things when it's not as tangible, but it's still there and it's still just as important? Like it's not going anywhere. It's just not as in your face. And so how can I like convey that to people and make people feel I just want people I really just want people to feel how I feel about soccer, which is just goosebumps. Like it is truly the beautiful game. It is truly so much more than what happens on the pitch. And whatever I can do to make people kind of begin to feel the same way that I feel about it is that's what I want to do. Show people why it matters and why they should care because I care so deeply.
That is a very commendable and I think more than attainable North Star.
Yeah. So like again, it's not this like I will be at like Nike or like what it's just more like my goal is much more like feeling based, I think.
Yeah.
But I also think that that's what the sport is. Um and what kind of when I've set benchmarks for myself, it's always about like again, how will I feel about doing what I'm doing? It's not as much as like putting yourself into a box of like I'll be making this salary or like it's just of course I need to sustain myself and like pay my bills, but it's am I fulfilled? And like right now this has been the most fulfilling thing I've ever done and I want to keep doing that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see how it plays out. Really excited to see how it plays out. And
Yeah.
I'm
I
so
mean,
pleased
well,
we got this done.
same. And I mean,
Sorry, I'm
seriously,
so sorry about the false starts.
and that was on me too. And I
I'm
mean,
a time optimist at the best of times. And I just thought, I could open a business and just like, just chat on a podcast, straight away.
but like to the point that I was making, like, thank you for the space that you've given so many people too. Like, you're doing exactly like I think what I trying to do, which is like telling stories that matter and highlighting people that matter. I'm not like I'm not trying to sound like, but like Domo and Lucas and like everyone who's ever been on the podcast. I'm like, I'm joining such a great cast of characters. I'm like very, very honored.
And I appreciate that. I've been keen to speak for a while. I mean, the
Yeah.
landscape, especially over there, is full of
Yeah.
so many interesting characters, and I feel very grateful that I get to speak to most of them. It makes my world a little bit bigger. I
Yeah.
now
And
live in a small seaside town, 40 miles from
where are you
London.
actually?
So
That was my next question.
I'm in a town called Leon-sea. So that's quite a
Okay.
British thing with the on-sea add-on at the end. It's not really the sea; it's the far end of the River Thames before it goes out to the
Okay.
North Sea. It's like 40 miles from London, but
Okay.
I have very young twin boys. I've now opened a
I'm
business.
a twin actually.
Wow, amazing!
Yeah.
That's so cool. I've got two boys, and
Yeah.
so life is, whilst it's beautiful, it has shrunk
Yeah.
to I think that'd be fair to say. So this, for me, is a way of kind of keeping the world a little bit bigger, and getting to chat to someone who's in a different time zone,
I mean,
in a
that's why I love
an
talking to
exciting stage of
people.
a career. It's fantastic
Yeah.
to hear and learn from. So
Thank
I'm
you.
grateful
Thank
for
you
the
so
time.
much. Yeah, of course. When do you think this is coming out?
Today is I'm going to probably put it out. So today is Sunday. I'll probably start putting them out on a Wednesday or something like that.
Sick. Okay, that's really impressive turnaround time.
Yeah. So they usually go out pretty much as they happened. I favour the lo-fi vibe.
Yeah.
And the informality of it all. So if there's anything that you would like me to omit, then
I feel pretty good about what I said. I think like my because I'm here visiting family, my parents were like, "Oh, like did you need to prep?" I'm like, "No, it's just a conversation," which is so great. Like I
yeah,
love how formal it is too. Like I don't think podcasts need to be like this high production like situation. It just it can really just be a conversation like and this is what the like
just see where they
what it
go.
was. Yeah.
I was on a podcast a month ago about opening this
Yeah.
place. There's a local podcast. He speaks to business owners, entrepreneurs, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I felt very fraudulent just to being in that conversation because I don't see myself. I just literally just opened.
You're on the other side of it usually.
Yeah, exactly. But then the level of research he'd done was like humbling, and I was like, oh wow, I don't do any of that. And he was like, what do you do when you speak? I was like, I just kind of ask how their day's going and go from there, and we just see. Sometimes we talk about our feelings, and sometimes we talk about football, and they just kind of they are what they are, and that's just. I would freak out if I had to prep. If I had a
Yeah.
list of questions, I just would not. I would not do it. It's good to be
Yeah. I mean,
led by
of
the
course,
vibe,
I
you
have to
know.
prep for interviews, but what it
Different game you're playing.
but I also
Very
will
different
say
game.
that, like, the best quote sound bites I get from like, I have a list of questions, but that's n when I people are like, "Can I see the questions before?" It's like, okay, sometimes you can, yeah, I'll send them, but I'm gonna be asking questions based on the what you respond. So it's never like this like super clinical thing. It's always a conversation for me. Don't ever want it to not be a conversation. Of course, there's kind of a more of an outline, but like it's a conversation at the end of the day because that's
Yeah.
where you get actual answers and actual like usable, interesting thoughts and material. Um, yeah.
Can we just quickly go back to you being a twin?
Yes. Okay.
Are
So
you identical?
no, not at all.
Oh,
She actually
same. Yeah.
does. She lives here. She is blonde, 5 inches taller than me, and she was the athletic one, actually. So she played lacrosse at West Point, like the military academy, and she tore like something in her knee. So it wasn't her ACL though. But it was like she was honorably discharged. So she got a free education but did not have to serve. Win win win. And
Yep.
now works at Los Alamos, which is the nuclear laboratory here. If you've seen Oppenheimer, that was like
Yes.
his lab. Yeah.
Wow.
So I'm kind of more of the creative side of the brain and she's the more like math logic side of the brain, but I also will say like she is an incredible writer. And so like it pisses me off sometimes. Like for her it's not like a career, like she's not like she'll sometimes just sit down and write something and I'm like fuck you because like why is this so good? And you're not like
Yeah. We all know someone like that.
she's
Yeah.
yeah, she's
We all know
really
someone.
she's really smart, but we don't look anything alike. So are
I
your
think that's
boys
going to be the
identical or
case. No, they're non-identical. I
okay.
think one of them may well be 5 inches shorter than the other one at some
Really?
point. You'll see. We're seeing the kind of. It's interesting. They're two in September. You can see their
Okay,
builds are
very oh my god,
different. The way they move is so different. Um, yeah, it's fascinating to watch
yeah.
because
I
there's
mean,
clearly going to be a bond there that's going to grow, but they're so different.
I think it was really important for me, like, so many people and I'm sure people already are asking you this all the time, will ask your boys this all the time, like, isn't it like how like, what's it like being a twin? What's it like being the father of twins? Or isn't it the best thing in the world to be a twin? And, like, my answer is so nuanced, like, we were not as close growing up because I think especially with girls, you compare yourself a lot. So like with my whole family, honestly, that it took me kind of moving across the country to be close with them. Just like we fought a lot when I lived at home. And now I'm like, I'm obsessed with all of them. Like I'm so lucky to have had the childhood that I did and then be able to come home to this. And like I'm very close with them now. I just don't see them as much. And but for me,
Sometimes
like,
that's the key with family.
yeah, it is. My sister was sorry, what was I gonna say? I think it was really important. Like I'm already can be insecure or I'm like, I don't need to see what I look like all the time. And I, of course, we have a phone and mirrors, and so you do. But like, if people told me I was identical to my sister, and then I could see her like what she actually looked like, because you can't ever actually see yourself. Like I'm seeing myself right now, but it's not really actually look like or how I move through the world. And if I like, could see that on like an actual person, I would flip out. I think,
I
like,
think I'd
I
be
would
with
just be
you on
like,
that
I
one.
can't
Yeah,
do that.
I'd be with
So
you on that one.
yeah, it's just that's a little too much for me. So
Yeah,
I think being a twin is a huge blessing, but I think it'll be great that your boys are not identical. They're kind of given the room to be more different, their own person. I think as an identical, even just as a twin already, you're kind of twin. You're a twin. That's a lot of like, especially while you're growing up, that's what you are. I was Zoe the twin. I was Zoe Brooke's twin. Brooke Zoe's twin. But identical, it's like even more so. So yeah, I think, but I'm also sure like no matter what happens when they're my age, they'll look back and be like, I feel really lucky to have been a twin.
they may not feel so lucky that I've brought them into the West Ham family, though. We'll see how
Yeah.
that
Well, we're
plays out over
all
the next few
born
years.
into sports teams that we like. I again wasn't born into a soccer team, but I'm from Dallas. I'm a Cowboys fan. That shit sucks. Like It sucks. And I
Have
didn't
you
have a
watched that
choice.
documentary? Have you watched the America's Team that, on Netflix?
I live it every year. Like I
Oh my
can't
God.
that
Is the closest thing I've seen to Last Dance levels of documentary making, I think.
really
Sports
okay. And
documentary
I thought
making.
that
Yeah.
The Last Dance made me cry at the
Yeah.
end.
Yeah. I mean, that sent me down a rabbit hole with Phil Jackson
Bulls.
as well, and like
And
Sacred
he
Hoops
is
and reading
the,
11 Rings and
the most interesting person.
spirituality deep dives and all sorts. That was
He's like a freak, respectfully.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. He just kind of decided to shun his family's chosen religious paths and just pick the best bits of the ones that and just lives a happy, he just smokes his cigars and rakes his sand and lives a happy life.
Yep. And you know what? Good for him.
Yeah, good for him. Yeah, whilst he's got loads of rings on his fingers. So it clearly worked, right? It clearly worked.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really incredible, but I think ESPN does incredible with all their 30 for 30s. Like if you haven't watched the 2 Escobars one about Pablo Escobar and then I forget his first name, but the Escobar who was killed after the 1994 World Cup because incredible documentary.
I've not seen that, no.
Yeah, you should watch it.
Okay.
It's really great because it's obviously talking about like the cartels going and cocaine trade in Colombia and then how literally the cartel then killed a player because he messed up.
16 years old as well. I can't believe I've not even heard of that.
Yeah, it's an incredible documentary.
Okay, yeah, locked and loaded. I'll get onto that.
Yeah.
I'll send notes.
No, just text me what you think.
Yeah,
notes on my desk at 5, by 5 end of day tomorrow.
Yeah, consider it done. Right, Zoe, listen, I'm going to let you crack on with the rest of your day. I've kept you long enough.
No. And for you, I'm like, I guess it's like 9 p.m. So enjoy the rest of your evening.
Yeah, I go to bed at 9:30. I've got twins.
Yeah.
I know. I love that.
Course.
Thank you so much. This was great. I've had a bit of a break. I don't think I've recorded in 2 months. This for me was such a great reintroduction.
Oh, good. I'm really happy to hear that.
You.
So have a great rest of your night and we'll chat soon.
Nice one. See you soon.
Bye.
Thanks for listening. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can follow MPLH Studio wherever you listen and find more work from today's guest in the show notes. I'm Joseph Fordham. See you next time.